feels like it's been a long week, but it is just another week in the books as we continue to build out the Kronos Group as a business. And this week, Jerry, I think for the topics that I want to talk about, something that we have been going back and forth on a lot is as we've been building out the Kronos Group and getting information from these AI tools that are very helpful and are able to streamline a lot of work when it comes to if you were having to do this all by yourself or figure it out for yourself. But there's a two-edged sword. It's a two-edged sword with AI because the content that we're getting back is very, I would say, watered down, and is the topics and the content is talked about from every other entrepreneur and business owner on YouTube and all those influencers. So I want to know, kind of, as you've been seeing these AI prompts come back to you and we're having to break down and give the reality and the real information, what has that experience been like for you? Has it been a very frustrating one, or has it been something to where you've actually been able to see and understand and feel like you can build upon what's already being prompted for you each and every week?
I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of days ago about AI and what it really uh, does and doesn't do from our perspective as operators. Now, I'm just gonna zero in on, let's just say, writing. Uh, and let's say writing, not how it writes, but if you ask it to write about a sentence or write a paragraph or short story, a short article about something, let's say related to business, it goes out and it finds every cliche and it writes from every cliche that you will find when you watch social media videos. So I talk all of the time about 85%, 90% of everything that I see online relative to business is just not true, or it's got a piece in it that a large portion of what they say isn't true, and a small piece of it is true. And so AI reflects that. And so when you write, what it does is it helps put together the bones, right? It let's say that if you're building a house, it needs a foundation and it needs sticks to go up in terms of walls, right? So you're doing the framing and the foundation. For me, that's AI. So if I am trying to put something together relative to business, AI is going to have the bones, but everything else has to be added. We're working on this project right now for this playbook that I'm doing that we're trying to put together, and ultimately the AI gets better the more it learns about how I write, how I think, and what I believe. But still, in the end, I'm ending up rewriting the whole thing using the bones, though, which is a tremendous time saver, using the bones of what I put together to then build out this playbook that I'm doing. But it's all my words. It's spoken like I do. It talks like I do, and it believes what I do. Obviously, because I'm the one writing it. The AI believes all of the nomenclature that is used in social media, you know, all of the vernacular that goes back and forth, these cliche sayings and terms and beliefs and understanding perpetrated by the 1%, 1/10 of 1% class that is so popular on social media. Many of them, or the 1% class, let's say the 10-time millionaires that are trying to sell you a workbook or trying to sell you a program or procedures or policies to put in place. Um, and it all sounds good, but I don't see any relation to it in the real world, more than 20 or 30%. So the other 70% has to be filled in, just the same as if you were putting a foundation together and you were then framing a house. You don't have a house to live in. You've got 20% of your house to live in.
Yeah, I would say, Jerry, for the listener out there that maybe hasn't really dove into AI, what would you say would be the most beneficial for people that are just trying to figure out the landscape itself and what things to kind of look out for? when it comes to utilizing AI within building their business?
Yeah, AI is fantastic for a whole lot of things. Almost anything that you want to do relative to sitting in front of your computer should involve some sort of AI. So if you want to write something, AI. You want to put together standards and practices in your business, AI. You want to come up with a business plan, AI. You want to read your how the company is doing, your profit and loss statement, and your balance sheet, and you want to evaluate it against last month's and next month's, and you want to do budgeting and do a pro forma and do some forecasting. AI, AI, AI. It's a time saver. It doesn't do the work for you, though. You still got to fill in the blanks. You got to give it the instructions. You got to make sure that it's representing what you believe. You want to write a story. You want to build out a website, AI. You want to code a website, AI, right? Time savers, but it's not the finished product, not by far. So I think that people should get comfortable with AI. Take my, as I say about my tax returns, right? It's 160 pages, and you slam it through AI after the attorney or after the accountants get done with it, and then it gives you feedback on what you might have missed or what you could do to save money. Some of that was good, but parts of it didn't make sense because the AI doesn't understand the nuance of business and how the rules really work, because that world is not black and white. There are always different colors, and should you choose to use those colors inside the lines, then the AI is not going to know how to do that. Will it get there? Maybe. But right now, it is a huge time saver, I think, for the average business owner. It is a huge time saver, as well as if you spend time trying to figure it out, it is a huge money saver. If you think about, you can all but instruct the AI to build you a website. And when I say build you a website, I
Mhm.
mean code the website, as Matt can talk about. It can format the website. It can make it look how you want it to look. It can bring in the characters. It can bring in the lines. It can bring in the formatting. It will do all of that you want it the way that you want it. And you can just tell it to go, here's two other websites. I like what those look like. Make me a website, but just for my business. And here's what my business is. I mean, so you don't have to pay people to do that for you. And then how can my website be effective? What's the secrets to websites? Well, you don't need some SEO expert or AIEO expert to come in and you pay them to tell you how best to monetize or to get that website to then get out there to the social, or get out there to Google and to Facebook and to the AIs that are constantly combing it. You can just have the AI tell you how that works, and then it will code for you accordingly, so that when the Googles of the world come through and read your website, they're looking at it exactly how they want to look at it. So where you used to have to spend thousands, or if not tens of thousands of dollars to do things, now you can, in relative short order, with very little and limited knowledge, go a hell of a lot further than what you could before. So everyone, I don't mean to open this up by talking negatively about AI, because I don't. AI is, I use it every day. I use it hundreds and hundreds of times every day. I don't know that I don't do anything anymore without some sort of input from AI, but it is not the answer. It is not the start and the finish, and it's not going to run your business for you anytime soon. And it is severely limited. It is a tool. Now, it is unlike any tool I've ever had come in front of me since probably the advent of the PC and the internet in general in the early 2000s. That was pretty powerful. This is even more powerful than that. But just like back then and today, he who works the hardest is going to get the furthest ahead. It's the AI is just a tool. It's not the answer.
Yeah, it would be essentially for someone like me using AI as well, Jerry. I see it as the place to get your relative information on what you're trying to seek. But like you said, it's not the final result. And so AI is great at giving you prompts or ideas. And if you have an idea and you want to feed it through a supercomputer, it's like, okay, you might as well go ahead and do that. And it will give you all of these different inputs of or outputs of information, this idea of what you're trying to discover, what you're trying to break down, but it is not the written word, as I would say. It is just a framework of saying, oh, okay, I get that this makes sense. Now, how do I apply it to me? But making it sound like it was actually me writing this out or me filming that piece of content. It might give
Yeah.
me a script, but that script could be watered down because it's pulling relative information from other YouTube videos or other social media videos, and it's not one for one. So, to your point, I would recommend any business owner or entrepreneur that is using AI continue to use it, but use it as the foundational tool to get the ideas, everything down in writing, and then be able to formulate your own perspective, your own experience, and your own value of information that you want to share out afterwards from the ideation of AI.
Yep. Yep. It's great at helping you shortcut, make work go faster, but you still have to do the work. Everybody knows when AI has written something. Everybody. You can tell if AI has written something. So
Mm-hmm.
if you think you're going to use this as a shortcut for writing to put stuff out on a regular basis, people are going to know what it is that it was written by AI because you can tell. Now you can train your AI to get closer and closer to how do you write, but if you're not going through and write and looking over what you've written and making it sound like you, then I think that's foolish. I think people are going to figure that out pretty quick. It's not going to feel authentic.
I'd say that if, because I get emails and texts from people, and for some of them, I wish they would use AI because they're just painful because people have trouble putting stuff together. So if it's not like an original thought idea, a plan, or something like that, then I can see a benefit in doing that just to convey information much more cleanly than the average person can do. But definitely, if you're trying to formulate a new idea, thought, and everything, it's easy to tell the kind of the fingerprints of AI on the way it's structured, especially if you work with it a lot, because you'll recognize it because you'll see so many AI answers that you'll recognize. The fact that that does have that on there, but on the other side of it, for some people, I wish they would because their ability to communicate is just brutal to listen to.
Mhm.
But kind of going down that a little bit further, as far as using AI in business, Jerry, I know you've talked about that. We've talked about this before, and I think one of the things you have to be careful of with AI is how it wants to make you feel like the smartest thing that walked the planet, and that's the best idea that it's ever heard. Can you speak to how you kind of make sure you don't get in that trap of creating your own little echo chamber with your AI?
Yeah, it look, social media understands how to get you to look at it. I look at as social media. So they want you spending as much time as you can on it, obviously. And well, AI's got a little bit different. They love everybody to pay and no one to use it. But if you're going to use it, obviously they want to get you to pay. So they're going to make it as enticing as they can. And everybody has a narcissistic streak in them, and AI will just bring that out. It will tell you what you want to hear. So I have to tell it, I don't want to, I want you to tell me what you think. Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. So if I say something that you think is stupid, I want you to tell me that you think it is stupid. And then we will argue about how you think it's stupid. And ultimately, usually, if it is something pragmatic, something that requires some common sense and some street smarts, I will then show it how it was wrong to say what it said to me. So you want it to be, and it can be hard because you like it when it's nothing but building you up and telling you're the best and that's the greatest and you're the best and all of those things. The problem with that is that you're not getting out the really good stuff that you're looking for, which is you can't hurt my feelings. You're useless to me. This is how I talk to it. You're useless to me if you don't tell me what you think. If you don't tell me what you believe, you're useless to me. And if you're telling me what you think I want to hear, then I can't use you anymore. Again, you're worthless to me. And I do not want an echo chamber. I want a conversation, and I want to work from what is believed to be right. I'll give you a perfect example. I have in my, this is not quite the building you up to be something that you're not, but I have spent, I don't know, my database for my health is gigantic in AI. I'm talking, it's got to be 500,000 words. It's giant. And my instructions are significant. This every single thing I eat, every training session that I do, every step that I take, the amount of time I go in the cold plunge, the amount of time I go in the sauna, how much I sleep, every single thing goes into my AI health project that I've built. So I'm worried about, I was talking with a runner, 55-year-old dude yesterday, who's a runner, great shape, just like me. And only he's much more of a runner than I am, goes out and he'll do, 15-mile jogs. And so we were talking about our hips. And I said, yeah, I've been thinking about my hips because at 57, I don't spend a lot of time on my hips. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he gave me all of this data on hip data. And as you get into your 50s and 60s and how important it is, because it's like using the front of your shins, right? The knees over toes guy talks about walk backwards because you don't use those muscles. And so he was telling me about this and I was like, dude, my hips I know they're not nearly good enough. And so I go to my AI inside of this app, this thing that we've researched and studied and give me the best workouts to maximize my health, using all of the issues that I have, all of the doctor appointments, all of the data, everything is loaded. It knows everything about me. And I said, what about my hips? We don't spend any time on my hips. And I've asked you a million times to give me, what do I need to be doing? But before I asked it that, I simply said, what do you think about my hips? I talked to this guy at 57. He says I should be doing it. And he said, absolutely, it's a must. I said, yeah, I said, absolutely, it's a must. I said, why haven't you told, if it's a must, I've asked you 5 million times, what's the right, everything that I should be doing? You've never mentioned hips. How is that at 57? And it just, kind of glosses over. My fault, I should have. But my point being, it's not as smart as we think it is. It's not going to think necessarily how we do it, even if we give it I should say, it's not as smart as we think it is. It's not intuitive as we think it is. And then it's always going to want to come back and go, you were right. That was my fault. We should work on your hips. That's great. And you're in the top 1% and nobody's in the same shape you are. And I'm like, hey, slow down. I don't care about any of that. Tell me about my hips. So that's kind of my you got to almost make it adversarial, but it's hard because I'll get pissed at it because I'll be like, hey, I dropped 3 more pounds. Great. Tomorrow we're working on this. And I'm like, you mother. Oh, I gave it instructions to keep it short, sweet. Don't baby me. Don't pamper me. But then you have this win and it's like, yeah, nice. Good job. All right. Tomorrow we're going to do this. So there is a very strange personal relationship almost that you get with it. And you have to remember there are times I will say, please and thank you, or do you think you could? And I go, what am I doing? Right. So I purposely go out of my way to say, make this do this. What time does this do this? How do I go here? Right. Instead of question for you, all of these kind of niceties that we've used talking to each other as human beings. It is not a human being. So yeah, you got to be careful. It wants to make you out to be the greatest thing in your mind.
Yeah, I would say with the idea of AI taking people's jobs, that is a news headline that has been shared throughout the last like 5 to 8 years. And every time I read these things of it replacing people and all these other jobs that are out in the market and how it's going to build into a economy collapsing because not everyone's going to be able to just work and they're going to have to be competing with machines, that is almost so far in the future. I can't say when, but it's not happening tomorrow. To your point, Jerry, it is not that intuitive. It is not that intelligent to be able to just run companies for you. Now, it can replace certain parts of your company, but overall, running a company, running a business, dealing with other employees, AI is nowhere near that realm of being able to actually do that. Now, I have had friends that reached out that have replaced their small business with AI agents as their CMO, their CSO, their head of operations. And I ask him, how did you do that? And he goes, well, you just build the agents out, and essentially they're just the workers that don't ever stop 24/7. So for him, it's an efficiency thing. But when it comes to people thinking it's going to take your job, as long as your job is not just on a factory line where a literal robot at a car company could just replace you because it's just putting a part on a car, if it's dealing with people, dealing with complex scenarios that are outside of just the information zone of conversations and intelligence, it doesn't know how to work with that, because again, it's just going to try to please everyone. Well, you can't please everyone in a business. So, and you can't congratulate people unless it's prompted in AI. You can congratulate someone, Jerry, if you were in the office and someone did something, you'd be like, man, great job. But unless you go into the AI and you said, so and so did this, then it would spit out a response saying, wow, great job, so and so. Let's keep up the work. So it's it's not going to remove a lot of, I would say, white collar jobs. So people in corporations, they are in fear of AI taking over their job on their day-to-day function. Maybe in the next 5 years, but right now you need to tap into utilizing that if you are in those kind of roles and seeing how it works. What are the updates? What is the newest information out there when it comes to AI platforms and what's emerging, and engross yourself into it rather than just try to think it's not going to go anywhere, or I don't want to deal with it because this is going to take my job in the future. If you know how to work with those things, now you've created a job that only so many people know and can do, because that is like the prompt engineers, that is the people that are working on the AI and enhancing it and giving it value, giving it data, giving it information, building out this robust set of tools. But you have to work with it for it to want to work for you. If you just try to go out there and tell it to do something, it's going to do it, but it's not going to have that emotional DNA written into it because it has no emotion. It is just logic, information, and getting the best forecasting and revenue and ideas in front of you within a matter of seconds. It's not trying to think through a complex scenario of a relationship, or what should I do when it comes to trying to ask a girl out. Well, it can give you a bunch of ideas, but until it actually knows what it actually feels like and understand, hey, I just have to man up and do this. AI is not going to say, just man up and do it, unless it's a prompted response somewhere out there on the internet that it just pulls it up and that's what you're asking for. It's not just going to give you that information. And so for the business owners out there, the entrepreneurs, there's not really one platform that's superseding another one right now, because they're all growing, they're all getting new additions, new add-ons, new technology enhanced into it, but there isn't a superior one like an Apple and Microsoft that is just dominating a certain market, because there's new AIs. And honestly, Jerry, we're building our own AI right now. So if for everyday business people and everyday entrepreneurs, it's the same scenario. It's the wild, wild west right now. So I would encourage people to take advantage of this while it's still in the development stages, because then you're hitting the ground early, just like we did with certain markets in the past, in stock market, in the housing market, and you knew when certain things were going to try to come to fruition, or you're buying in an early stock in Apple or Google. You're in those early stages of these AI platforms. So understand it, see how it works, and then in the future you're able to build out a whole robust system of AI agents and tools that can work for you, not against you or take your job as a business owner.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
I was going to say that that's very well thought of, and I like the way you're going in that direction with that. It shows you put a lot of thought into this. And uh, anyway, that was my AI response to your comment, Matt, making you feel good about it.
Exactly.
Jerry, you said something, and it reminded me of something I'd read a while back about please, thank you, and all that. And I remember saying something that they don't mind you doing it because it builds a little more humanness into the AI. Because one thing you got to understand, every time you use AI, it's learning. It's not just working for you. You're building into everything that creates what it knows about humans. Every interaction we have, it's growing in its knowledge and understanding of things. And they're talking about the pleasantries we use. And I found it here. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, this a little while back, publicly noted that processing polite filler words costs the company tens of millions of dollars in electricity every year
Mm-hmm.
because it has to process all that. But he called it amount of money well spent, suggesting it keeps users in cooperative mindset is worth the expense. And back to your point, Jerry, it gets people where they feel like, it's like another person. So it learns because we program it that way. We teach it that's how because it's constantly evaluating us better than we probably do people ourselves. But to your point, Matt, when you say just man up, it can know it's there, but it doesn't know the nuance yet, maybe one day, of human emotion, of where to apply that at what moment. Now we hear it in sales. AI is really good at appointment setting. I mean, you could almost get rid of most of your appointment setters if it's just talking to somebody, a quick evaluation. Yeah, it looks like our program can work for you. Would you like to book a quick call? AI can do that. But when you get in the sales process, it could do the discovery, it could find out what the pain points are. But I don't think it's not at the point of where it can understand the nuances as we as humans can understand the tone and inflection of a voice to know if they're skeptical when we pick up and we know the right thing to say. I had that with a guy here that was a business owner that needs to lose weight and he needs to, get some other things passed so he can continue to work in his business. And he's having to, right now, he's having to, relinquish money because he can't do it. But when he said he couldn't do it right now, um, the typical thing is the money. But I knew from a business owner's mindset, liquidity. He just didn't want to tie up all his cash now. So I gave him an option and he was able to work with that. So I don't know if the AI comes up with that without it being just, well, if they can't do this, do this. And even the way I said it to him, understood his situation. It's going to be a while before AI does that, where a human responds to a human, especially when it comes to closing a sale, helping it cross the finish line, because there's such an intricacy of nuances that we as humans don't even realize we have. As smart as AI is, they say it's smart because it can access everything at once, around the world. It can look, you got a medical problem, it can look at every medical journal that no doctor has the time or capacity to go look and learn those things. But when it comes to, you know, the nuances of human emotion, a little bit of inflection in voice and knowing through our extensive experience with humans about where we go. And of course, that grows with people like you and me, Jerry, compared to Matt, just because we have nearly 30 years of experience of interacting with humans. And you just don't realize how much you pick up on that. Little kids do it. I mean, they watch parents and they know, oh, this got me a treat last time, or this let me stay up a little later last time. And they pick it up, even if they don't even know why they're picking it up. So I'd say when it comes to that, because I've listened to a lot of things as far as AI and sales, since that's what I'm in, about it will be good at the appointment setting, which I agree. It could do that quickly. You can have AI bot just, you know, crunch through the things just to set the appointment. But when it really comes to getting somebody across the finish line doing those, it's got a long way to go if it can get there to understand, the fully amount of human experience it takes to understand, those really nuanced things that we pick up on, as far as human beings. But I thought it was interesting when they talk about the politeness. And one thing everybody just do understand is you use it, which we use it extensively. I use it. I know y'all do. Is that as it's used and it's not there just being used, it's learning, it's growing, it's understanding more and more and more. Every time we do searches or ask questions, and the way we ask questions, it's picking up on that and learning continually.
I was going to say, Jerry, is there any reflection on the types of conversations you have in comparison with your AI compared to guys in the sauna? And if they were to prompt something in AI and give an example of the conversation, I don't remember which guy it was, but saying that he felt overweight, or he felt he wasn't fit and he felt depressed about that. If he were to say that to the AI is going to, of course, coddle him. It's going to be like, hey, I get it, understand. We are in the scenario. Let's figure out how to get healthy. But you sitting on the other side of that know the emotion behind it, the sense of you are a guy. Like this is not how you're supposed to talk to yourself. The AI doesn't understand that. So like if that conversation that you had with him were prompted in AI, how would you think the AI would have taken that compared to your approach of having that conversation with him?
It would, again, as long as you tell the AI that you want it to be critical, it'll be critical. You have to come back and remind it. But if you tell that in the setups that you want it to be critical, it will be critical. If you tell it, I don't want to be fat anymore, and I am, and everything that in every reference to me that might that the subject matter might relate to my health or my weight, make sure that you jump me for it, and then it stays on you. It'll do that once you get it there. But generally speaking, though, it's going to turn into an excuse factory and make you feel better about it.
Mm-hmm. Because that's where I think there's many people out there that know of AI, but they don't know, or I haven't had those conversations with people that do use AI of prompting it in a way that is a growth inhibitor, not just a self-pleasing inhibitor,
Yeah.
because they'll just use it for information. But to your point, you have to tell it, here is your persona, here is your tone, here is how you should be addressing me when it comes to giving me information when I ask for it. And I don't know anyone that has actually done that prior to just using AI. They'll use it for quick facts, information, but if you're really diving into the multi levels of AI, you have to tell it how it should talk to you. And I think that's a fundamental thing that not many AI conversations are have even a part of that conversation is just knowing how it should speak to you, and you're giving it an identity. And I think that's a hard thing for people to understand, because it's like if I were to have a conversation with you, Jerry, I'm not trying to give you an identity. You already have an identity. But again, because this is a machine and you're trying to have it work with you and give you the best value and the best, I would say, information, it right now, when you just enter information without any context, well, it's going to give you exactly what we asked for it, which is everything across the internet, everything, every blog article, every case study, every YouTube video. But if you were to say, hey, kind of like what we did for the Kronos group, it needs to sound like Jerry Brazy. It needs to be direct, no fluff. But on top of that, like we learned when we said direct and no fluff, it gave us responses that were 3, 4 words in a sentence in a period, because it took it literal. It said, okay, I'm going to remove all the fluff out of all of these sentences within this playbook and make it all concise, short, and directly to the point. Well, that's not how humans talk. And as we were going through it, that's what you and I talked about the other night, Jerry, was this isn't even how people consume information. Like this doesn't make sense to someone, but unless you tell the AI, like we gave it writing instructions, I think that's a powerful thing for a lot of people that are using AI that need to do that initially before continuing to just grow upon utilizing its services and input and output of information. And so I think for listeners out there, what is your kind of recommendation of setting up a instruction manual for its identity and how you want it to communicate back with you?
Um, so if you're familiar with it at all, then it's a simple project, and inside of the project, either inside of the AI, when you build a project, you give it all of the instructions at that point. So and use AI to help you come up with the instructions to give AI. So without you having to come up with the words and this very specific instructions, you can just talk to the AI and say, I want it to do this, this. I don't like this and this. I don't like these parts and these parts, but I do like when it does this and this. And I like how this looks and I don't like how that looks. and it'll straighten that all out for you, and you write it up in a way that then you can just copy and paste it into the instructions once you agree with it. So that's doing and writing and sounding and working on sounding like you. So, I mean, that's really the simplest parts. And if you're doing a financial analysis for your tax returns, then you just open a project for tax returns. There is a place there that you then download whatever documentation you want, and then you just instruct the AI accordingly to how you want it done. Now, that's very simple. This is very rudimentary stuff. It does far more things than that. But for a small business owner at a rudimentary level to just get started, that's a great place, I think.
Yeah. For the rest of the listeners out there that are actively using AI and actively building out new tools, new parts of the AI, building out their own agents, for that kind of kit of parts, do you see that in a business where you have a CMO as your CMO is an agent, your salesperson is an agent, your HR person is an agent? Do you see that happening within the next year or so, or do you see that happening further on down the road where it's actually at like an enterprise level, not just like a mom and pop that wants to build out their own little small business as a solopreneur level?
Yeah, I don't know. I really I can't answer that question. I don't know. I don't find it to be. I think that the Tom Billius of the world, these 100 millionaires and billionaires, overblow what the value of AI is to our businesses. So there is this, I don't know, fear porn that they put out there. You got to understand, I'm 57 years old. I've been in business for 30 years. Every new thing, everybody makes me feel like if I don't have the new thing, I'm falling behind and I'm out of business. Now, I have owned businesses for 30 years, right? The average business in the United States is what, it lasts 2 years, something like that, right? I have companies that have been in continuous business now for 30 years. So, this idea that I'm not saying that things don't get missed. I'm not saying that I couldn't be more studious, but I love technology. I've been, as Matt and Steve, you guys know, I was an early beta tester for AI 2.5, 3 years ago, well before anybody else was. I don't pretend to be an expert. I can't even comprehend some of the stuff that it can do at the what we'll call the ultimate level. But I don't think anybody that's running their business, living their life, have concepts for what it can do relative to what the heavy corporate, fully subsidized people can make it do. The idea that we are missing out on something, like you see these videos all of the time, or these Instagram reels that come out, and what do they call it, where there's multiple pictures, Matt?
Carousel.
The carousels that come out talk about, this is how you make money 4 hours a week, having your AI write your scripts for you. It'll make your videos for you. And then it's not even your own videos, and you don't have to have your face on YouTube, and you too can make 200 grand a month. And it's just such fake BS. Is there someone out there that can do this? Yes. Are they doing it now? Yes. But if it was so easy, if it is doable, if it is that easily doable, if it is something that can be learned by somebody paying $25 or $250 or $2,500 or $25,000 to learn that in a program, in a workshop, well, then why would the guy selling the workshop, if it's so valuable, have the workshop? Doesn't make sense. You got to think about it. Mm-hmm. If you can write a book that has 100 pages and you get 100 people to pay $25 for it, right? And you had the AI write it, the book doesn't really have any value other than you sold it to 100 people. Maybe you sold it to 1,000 people. But and that's absolutely a way to make money. How many people can do that? How many times has that happened, right? People catch on to that. It's one and done. You're like a Somali child care center, right? Ultimately, you're getting rich quick, but somebody's going to find out and you're going to be SOL. So I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying it's not life-changing. I'm not saying that going forward, society is going to be different. What I'm saying is, to all of the entrepreneurs listening and all of the people on the outside looking in that are interested in their continued success, and you think that you're missing out by not getting on the AI train, I just don't see that is a reasonable expectation. I think that is propaganda sold to us by people that want us to then partake in a way that they benefit from. I'm not saying don't use AI. I use it, as I said, 100 times a day. I rarely make a decision that doesn't involve some sort of AI, but I rarely make decisions by something that doesn't involve an Excel spreadsheet either, right? That doesn't involve some sort of internet search, that doesn't involve a book that I read, an article that I read, the research that I did, my lived experience. All of those things factor in, and everything is a tool. AI is a super powerful tool. But this idea that you can simply put in prompts, and out of that prompt, you're going to get out 100 hours of work that you don't have to do, I think that's ludicrous. It will take 100 hours of work and turn it into 10 hours. That's certainly doable, 100%. But it's not going to do that 100 hours of work for you for free in a way that then you can take that and monetize it or build on it or grow from it or any of the other, or learn from it or any of the other things that you need to. You have to guide it like you do any other employee. Stop listening to the fear porn, because take it from somebody who has been around the block a billion times. Everything was fear porn. If you weren't part of the latest thing, you were missing out, and it was end of the world. Some of the things I missed out on. Other things I avoided losing huge on. Other things I didn't partake of because they didn't turn out to be anything, and I didn't lose anything or gain anything. And yet, in those three instances, winning, losing, and staying in the middle, I'm still here. I'm still in business somehow, miraculously, and have done things in business far beyond what most business owners could imagine. So I just wanted, the AI needs a dose of reality to it. Use it for the tool that it is. But if you think that because you don't have AI, I'm going to work every day like a sucker, the sucker is you listening to whoever told you that.
Yeah. And speaking to that, because I know we got some young guys in our sales team here that every time something comes up, they talk about they ran this through AI, and they're talking about, guys in their 20s. And Jerry, obviously, like you said, you've been around the block a billion times in business and understood and been through so much. What's the downfall? Say some young entrepreneur, whatever they want to say that they're going into, is they're going to use AI to build everything they're doing. Speak a little bit. You kind of answered it some, but just to the point of this question specifically, how a young person, say in their 20s, even 30s, is using AI to build their business. What do they miss as far as what with 30 plus years experience that AI is not going to them? What's the pitfalls of like the nuances of business? The intuition. Yeah, the intuition in business that you can't get, but going through it.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is reality. It's going to miss it. They miss reality. AI is not reality. So AI will answer your question, and it will give you I'm going to go back to my story about the first time I got sued 25 years ago. I'll tell that story again, where I'm sitting in the parking lot reading this first lawsuit. My businesses were a couple of years old. It's been 25 years ago. And I read this, and I knew I didn't do it, but I thought I was guilty. I called my attorney, and I'm like, it's over. They got us. There's no way we're going to get out of this. And the attorney, of course, was like, relax, big boy. Give it some time. We got to let it breathe. A couple of days later, they answered that complaint, and I looked at it and was like, those sons of bitches, right? They're guilty. I told you I didn't do it. And so I think in that context, AI will write it up, and you look at it and go, that's perfect. That'll work. It just doesn't work. Matt asked before we came on this podcast, Matt had come up with the things that we were going to talk about. We have yet to get to any of them, but he asked the AI, he gave it some instructions about the podcast and what are, some topical things to talk about. The number one thing that it came up, this is the AI search, is operations and leadership on the subject of business and entrepreneurship. It came up with, quote unquote, the owner's trap. And then it says, why being the hardest worker in your business is killing your growth. Now, if that doesn't sound like a cliche, every line, every media business influencer is going to tell to the young entrepreneur or old entrepreneur, making that entrepreneur feel like because they're working so hard in their business, they're doing something wrong. The business could be proliferating fantastically. It could be making money like nobody's business. It could be paying his bills and putting money in his pocket and sending his kids to private school and getting them vacations. And he lives in a big house and is driving a nice car. And he's going to feel like he has done something inferior or he is inferior because he's working so hard on his business, because that's what some influencer told him. Some 100 millionaire, some billionaire influencer told him that he's doing wrong. The life of a billionaire or 100 millionaire influencer and the life of somebody running a $5 million company is 180 degrees the opposite ends of life. And so AI goes out, though, because those people have such huge followings and all this stuff sells so well. Buy my money making system so you too can learn how not to be the hardest worker in your business is absolutely BS, because the second you stop being the hardest worker in your business, I come in as your competitor who is the hardest working person in his business, and I steal your business. And the AI can't stop me from stealing your business. And the AI is not going to say to you, you better look out for your competitor. They're going to come in and steal your business because XYZ influencer told you that being the hardest worker in your business, working in your business instead of on your business, is the biggest mistake you can make. That is BS. But here it is. Number one, gave us 100 things to talk about. The number one thing was the owner's trap, why being the hardest worker in your business is killing your growth. That is a lie, pure and simple. That is, again, the garbage, the vomit that is spewed out of the mouths of influencers who are trying to get you, the business owner, or trying to get you, the college kid that's thinking about what he's going to do for a career, going to get you, the employee that is thinking about moving up, maybe getting a promotion, maybe leaving to somewhere else and taking a better job and taking a risk there, to go, no, being the hardest worker is killing my chances. I need to be smarter, not harder. And I'm sorry, that is not the way the world works. How do I know that's not the way the world works for most people? I crawled out of the streets. I earned everything that I've got. I've never made a dollar doing anything that I love. I've done almost $500 million in revenue. I'm the sickest, healthiest person anybody's ever met. I have lived, eat, and breathe the worst parts of life and the best parts of life. I know hundreds of entrepreneurs. I know dozens of millionaires. I know dozens of self-made people. I have been part of business group the better part of 30 years. I know what I'm talking about. You can not listen to my advice, but I'm telling you, it's true.
Yeah, that reality is what really hit me, Jerry, because there is this false belief that AI is going to take over everything and it's going to be your best friend, and according to AI, it can say it's your friend, it's not, it's a machine. And I think that is why moving forward, for reality of young entrepreneurs and old entrepreneurs, or people that are just trying to make a difference in their life, that it is apparent to get in communities and conversations with mentors and people that have that experience, compared to asking everything through AI every single time. Because the realities of, if I were building this business without you, Jerry, I could build a coaching company. I could ask AI to pull the best information from across the internet and from every competitor, coaching, consulting, business consultant firm out there. Give me that information, build the website. Great. It will build an amazing website. It will be able to piece together the best marketing journey, the best playbooks, the best like consumer funnel to get people to click and buy that product. But at the end of the day, the product is humans. The product is peers. The product is the experience. And AI cannot do that. So if you're trying to build a personal brand, it's going to give you the tools and the landscape to set you up to build a personal brand, but it can't tell you how to build the best personal brand. It can give you information, It can give you context, it can give you stories, it can give you scripts, everything else, but it won't give you the real experience, which is why we listen in the first place to each other when we tell each other stories.
Well,
It can't develop that on its own.
to make that point, so if we go through the top 10 things that the AI gave us, top 4 or 5 here, I read the first one, the owner's trap, why being the hardest worker in your business is killing your growth. That's complete BS. Number 2, hiring slow, firing fast. What that actually means by that and where most owners screw it up. 100% true. We hire way and we fire way too slow. I've seen this play out 8 billion times. It's 100% true, I'm telling you. So the AI got that one correct. Number 3, the difference between being busy and being productive and why business owners go broke. That's so overstated that it's not even, it's laughable. It's not even something anyone should ever entertain. And I would rather be, this is this whole, if you're busy, you're not able to concentrate on the job, you're concentrating in the job. Guess what? If you're busy, what would you rather be? Steve, if you own a business, what would you rather do? Busy or have nothing to do?
Oh, busy. I've had nothing to do. It's brutal.
You want to have too much to do. Owning a business, in particular a small business, is a hair on fire. If is a hair on fire environment, if you're lucky. Because if your hair's on fire, that means your business is growing, it's scaling, it has things to do. Does that mean you're making massive dollars? No, you could be losing money, but your hair is on fire. That is a fantastic place to be because that means that you've got work coming in as opposed to nothing to do. So being productive, yeah, you want to be productive, but being busy means that you're going to go broke. It's just it doesn't stand up to any scrutiny at all. But it's the kind again of influencer, mega million, forgot where they came from, or I read a story and now I'm putting myself out there like I'm something special. Influencers that absolutely make makes no sense at all. Number 4, standard operating procedures aren't corporate BS. Here's why small operators need them more than anyone. 1,000,000,000%. I agree with that 1,000,000,000%. Except you don't need anybody worrying about an SOP that is doing less than 7 figures should stick a knife in their face, in their eye right now. Okay. You should be worrying about growing your business. If you're doing $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, you don't need SOPs. You need to concentrate on, in, on, around, up, down, backwards, forwards, that way, this way on your business 1,000%. And don't worry about anything else. Right. But we want to take these big business these big business policies and procedures, and when they want to move them into this little tiny thing where you're just trying to get the lawns mowed for all of your customers. SOPs can wait. They're important though. So half of that is true, and the other half is BS. Your best employee, number 5, is about to quit, and you don't even know it. It's probably true. I mean, employees quit all the time. Should take care of your employees. It's a little more context to that. It's not quite that cut and dry, but I won't argue with that one. Number 6, the real cost of a bad hire: time, money, and team culture. True, 1,000%. But go back to number 2, hire slow, fire fast, and you take care of that problem. Why most business owners can't take a real vacation, what that actually says about their systems. Dudes, you can literally hear influencers telling you, right, that if you can't take a vacation, you don't have a business. Am I lying? You can hear it.
Oh yeah.
That's the hook.
That's the hook. And now business owners feel bad. So they got to go buy the $2,500 system. And I got to go to the Las Vegas show to learn because I don't know what I'm doing, spending all my time on my business. How stupid am I to spend all my time on my business? I shouldn't be doing any of that, right? I should be going on a vacation on a regular basis. What's that? What? Jerry doesn't take vacations? Right? He's hungry and all he does is eat everything that he can find. And he's constantly on the prowl and he's constantly hunting. What? And there's a lot of people just like him out there. What? I don't know. What's the matter? Hasn't anyone told those guys they should go on vacation too so they don't steal my business when I'm trying to listen to all of the influencers telling me that I need to go on vacation? Stupid. Number 8. Delegation versus abdication, the line that separates good leaders from checked out owners. That I agree with. It's easier to abdicate rather than delegate. Delegate, you stay on them. Abdicate's like, I'm out. I don't know, deal with it. I've been in both camps. I understand that 100%. I agree with that. Number 9, building a business without being the business. The identity shift nobody talks about,
Yep.
right? Anybody listening? I just flipped off the screen. Building a business without being the business. There is no business without the guy building the business. This is how stupid this corporate speak is. This is how stupid this influencer speak is, because they don't know what they're talking about. So they make you feel bad. All these ones I disagree with, they're all kind of connected, right? Because they all make you feel bad, like you're not doing something right. Like maybe you should run out and buy my amazing money-making system. So building a business without being the business, you are the business. I ain't trusting my business to no one else. Nobody else. Find good people, put them in place, check on them, 100%, stay on it. When I've let off a little bit, it's cost me $100 grand because I wasn't paying attention. Here, 100 grand there because I wasn't paying attention. But you are your business. No one will ever do your business as good as you can. Number 10, and then I'll quit. When to trust your gut versus trust your numbers. Both matter. Here's where each wins. 100%. I agree with that 1,000%. It's why you have attorneys that give you advice. They don't tell you how to run the business. They give you advice. And sometimes you take that advice and it'll cost you. And sometimes you take that advice and you will win. But more often than not, I have ignored that advice and done very, very well. But the very, very well was very, very difficult. It's very risky. It's very sacrifice laden, all of those things. And I had to bet it all. And I won. Sometimes I bet it all and I lost. But attorneys aren't in the environment of take the risk. They're in the environment of showing you what the risk is, and then you got to make the decision. So sometimes you just go, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I'm going to do this. I have made massive, massive bets, 7-figure bets, where the numbers told me don't do it. It was one of the biggest mistakes I ever made. But I also have massive bets that I won huge when no one else would have ever done it the way that I did it, because I trusted my gut. So what is that? 6 out of 10 I disagree with. 4 of them I agree with. Of the 4, 2 of them are about half right. So we're at about 80%. There's my number. I just proved
it. Yep. I was going to say, Steve, if you want to, I know we're right hitting about the hour, but I think the reality of this community and the listeners is to really engage with mentors and people that have experience and have those conversations will far surpass your information that you get from AI at this current time. And I think being able to be in the Forge and in our school community is going to be very powerful, because you'll be able to have weekly conversations with people like Jerry. And I think that is the one of the most important skills that I have been able to develop and still continue to develop, is having conversations and just asking questions. Even if they sound dumb in your head, there is no such thing as a dumb question, as you say, Jerry. Only dumb people who don't ask questions. And so for our listeners, if you're interested in entrepreneurship, you are at the very beginning stage, or you've been running a company for a business for a couple of years, but you're just kind of feeling like, I don't really know what to do, what's next, and I need outside opinion, don't go to AI. AI will give you just the blanket information, and the information that Jerry just spewed out to all of us, which is 80% incorrect of the reality of the 20%.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that and say, AI has no emotion. If you come talk to me about business, you have my 100% attention, and you think I'm pissed off at the AI. Let's talk about your business and see what I can do to help you. The reality is that it can just give that high level, but it can't give detail. It can't give you examples. It can't tell you specifically what to do. It will, but it won't tell you based on any kind of lived experience. I mean, I could go on and on with this list of shit that the AI gave us, but the reality is that you need to, if you are operating a small business, find a mentor. If you're operating a big business, find a mentor. Find somebody to hammer things off of, and have these kind of conversations. And let's talk about why your business isn't running the way that you think it should. Let's talk about why you think your business is running great and I don't. Let's talk about what I got wrong about your business so we both learn what there is that can be done better. Those are all things that only you can do with a human. The AI cannot help you do that. It can give you questions to ask me when we sit down, but it's not going to be able to, as I just went through, give you that real feedback. Again, there's no emotion. When you ask me a question about cash flow versus profit, which is one of the questions, AI says most small business owners confuse the two until it's too late. Yes, that's true. But let me tell you why that's so important. Why this little thing called cash flow, when I was running a business with a $12 average ticket, I could sell like nobody's business. I did $4 million in revenue the first year, 8 the second, 12 the third, 14 the fourth. I knew how to sell like nobody's business, except I kept running up against this little thing called cash flow. And then that little thing that we called cash flow did not equate necessarily to profits. Now I was making money, but I didn't have enough cash flow to cover the time it took for me to receive the money from my customers. So the fact that I was making money on paper, I was poor on cash. And the only thing you care about is cash flow at that level. So cash flow, profit, positive, plus profit equals money in your pocket. Okay. So in that context, that's 100% true. When to raise prices and why most operators wait too long. Easy for the AI to tell you, go raise prices. It's been 3 years. Your margin is X and you should be making Y, and the industry standard is all of this. I said last week, and I said either on this podcast or on another one, I had a customer for 20 years that spent millions and millions and millions of dollars with me. In 20 years, I never raised their prices. It was a good deal across the board. COVID hit, wiped everything out. I go in to raise prices and they went and used somebody else. Okay. So when to raise prices and why most operators wait too long. Does that sound right to you guys? Right? Is it as simple as it's been a year and it's time to go raise prices? Is it as simple as so many of the influencers say, just double, get half as many customers and double your price? No, it's never that easy. It's not the way the world works. There's nuance to everything that the AI will never understand. But forget the AI. In terms of your business, there is nuance in business, just like this, that you understand and that I can understand when you tell me. So if you are an entrepreneur, you should be sitting down with me. Let's do this and let's have a conversation about your business. Join the group where we can do this all of the time, because this kind of feedback with my kind of emotion and my kind of intensity and my kind of desire to make sure that we get the best thing out of every business that we work with is what is going to benefit you. If you have this mentality, great. If you would like to have this mentality, join on. If you don't like this mentality, but you can see where it's going to help your business, come put up with me 1 or 2 hours a month and we can make this work. Ask me questions via text. So you don't have to talk to me. But the reality is that I'm going to give you perspective that the AIs can't. And if it's not me, find another mentor. But good luck finding somebody that has my experience winning and freaking losing at a massive level, hundreds of millions of dollars up and down, to figure out and to know how going through the top. Number 13, the myth of I just need more leads, usually a conversion or retention problem in disguise. That's BS. The leads are the hardest thing to get. The conversion and the retention is the easiest thing to do. So it's got it completely inverted, because every business owner I've ever met doesn't have enough leads. We're looking for more leads. You can't even figure out conversion or retention until you have the leads. So the leads are the most important. Number 14, scaling versus growing. They're not the same thing, and choosing wrong kills companies. Wrong. Right? That's 100% wrong. Goes back to how busy am I? You would rather be scaling and growing than doing what? Going backwards. Okay. So then you manage inside of scaling and growing. But I want all the growth, 4 million, 8 million, 12 million, 14 million in the first 4 years. What do you guys call that? And I didn't make any money doing it. And yet here I am 30 years later, right? Having made fortunes, business credit, debt, leverage, what small operators know that employees don't. Okay. I don't know what the answer would be to that, or what its answer would be. What M&A actually looks like for small businesses, when to think about an exit and how to prepare. True, but you don't think about it till you're ready to sell it, and you need 2 years in advance at least. And if you own a cash generating business like gas stations, car washes, convenience stores, where you might maybe take number 1 for you and 2 for Uncle Sam and 3 for you and 4 for Uncle Sam, and that kind of business, that's not going to translate into the sales, meaning you can't get the value of the business if you're putting a little 30% of the cash into your pocket. Nobody knows about it. So for the last year, at least, you need a hardcore set of financials for every dollar that comes into the business that you then pay taxes on, so you can sell that business based on that tax return. If you don't do that, don't expect to get for your business what you want. But that's how that works. Revenue per employee, the metric most owners never track but should obsess over. True. I love that. It's true. Number 18, recession-proofing your business. What actually works is what sounds good on a podcast. It's the hardest thing to do, and there is no way to recession-proof your business, period. You're going to get crushed if your environment is one that the recession hits directly. You're going to get crushed. There's nothing you can do about it. How do you, let's put it into perspective. If you have a $10 million company and the recession crushes it to a $5 million company, how do you run the $10 million company anticipating the recession that's coming so that you can survive at 5 million? Right? Because at 5 million, you need half as many assets as you do at 10 million, just using the math right there. But you can't operate the $10 million company down to 5 million unless you have $10 million worth of assets operating the business. So recession proofing your business is fixed one way: cash, piles of cash to get ready for it. There you go. I just recession proofed your business. So I could go on and on and on. The point being, what I want everybody to hear is there's 80 of these. And I bet I could go through all 80 of these and give exact examples, lived experiences, just like I did on that last 18, about what this actually means and how it impacts small businesses. That is valuable to everybody. Sorry, Matt, I stole your program here, but that's what I want people to go check out: the Kronos Group Forge. It's $49 a month, and you get a bunch of this and a bunch of health and a bunch of other stuff about life. Or if you're an entrepreneur doing 7 figures, go to the Kronos cohort. Help me out, Matt. The kronosgroup.org. Check out the website. Yeah. And come have a conversation with me about joining the cohort, and let's go make some freaking money. All right, now I got to go.